Okay, it's official. It's working. Technology is a good thing when it works. So many of us do a great job supporting the local church, and many of us do a good job giving to missions around the world. Some of the stats that we can look up is millions of dollars flow from North America to many missionaries who speak and proclaim Christ all over the world. And more missionaries keep going every year. There's an abundance of missionaries that keep going and going, and so we're doing a great job. We do a lot of extra things for missions, and we fight hard to keep the money flowing out and to support the 17 causes that we have. We're doing a great job, so I just wanted to congratulate everyone on doing that and fighting and doing what they can to contribute to that, and also to keep giving to the local church, because we really need the ability to do more things. Now, let's look into Mark chapter 5, 18 through 20. And he was getting into the boat. The man who had been demon-possessed was imploring him that he might accompany him. Basically, he was begging him to go with him because he didn't want to stay where he was at. And we'll come back to verse 18 in a moment. And he did not let him, but he said to him, "Go home to your people and report to them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he had mercy on you." The man in verse 18, we'll go back to it for a second, he declared that he wanted to follow Jesus. Now, in a normal church setting, everybody would be up and clapping their hands and doing whatever it is and be so excited and everything. So it's a great thing to follow Jesus. It's a really good thing to do it. But Jesus had something different and a different idea for him. But we have to take a second and think about it. We have to make sure that we don't focus too much on we're going to follow Jesus. Yeah, we're going to follow Jesus, and get so emotional in our thought process that we are too consumed with our thought process of what's supposed to happen. We're supposed to follow Jesus, but not the battle plan or the plan that is actually supposed to happen. So let's keep going. Back to verse 19. And he did not let him, but he said to him, "Go home to your people and report to them what great things the Lord has done for you and how he had mercy on you." So Jesus told him no to his good idea. He told him to stay behind because he was getting in the boat and he wanted to go. Because, how many times do you think about it that we get left out of something, or we're not allowed to do something, or not allowed to go somewhere? It kind of disappoints us. So I'm sure he's probably disappointed because he probably wanted to go because, this dude just changed his life. He got rid of his demons and he changed his life. But Jesus said no. Now, let's keep going here. Jesus told him to tell his people, his community, the people who knew who he was. Because if people don't know who you are, you don't have as much of a testimony with them as somebody who knows who you are. Because if he got in the boat with Jesus and he was there, the people are like, okay, why are we impressed with this guy? How do we know that this is the case? He wouldn't have that much of an effect if he was someplace else. I am sure the demon-possessed man was some kind of legend in his community. Maybe the parents told the kids, "You better be in bed before the demon-possessed guy comes out at nighttime, and if you're not in bed, he's going to come find you." I thought about it, the message that we have, you'll find out in a second, but I also thought about it's almost Halloween. We could have used it as the demon-possessed man or the guy in the graveyard. Oh, it could be scary. However, what kind of community? They probably talked to him as horror, like, oh my gosh, because they were afraid of him. He broke shackles. He did all kinds of different things. He had power that most humans don't have. And now the same man is being out a witness to the people. He's witnessing something completely astronomical to them. He's saying, Jesus set me free. Jesus changed my life. Jesus is the reason why I'm able to do what I'm doing right now. I used to be this guy, but Jesus maybe this. Now let's go to verse 20. And he went away and he proclaimed in Decapolis, that's 10 cities, Pastor John taught me that, what great things Jesus had done for him, and everyone was amazed. Now, when God touches us, amazing things happen. And when God does stuff, amazing things happen. The man proclaimed in Decapolis and all the other 10 cities, the people were amazed. Remember, the Bible tells us no person could do anything for this man. All efforts from this man by people, it was failure. But people saw the end results of Jesus' changing power and saw the results through this man. Not all of us, not all people here are called to go somewhere far, but many of us, we are here, we are to proclaim the gospel around us to the people that we know. So let's go ahead and pray real quick before we start with the message. Dear God, thank you so much for giving the message and just all of a sudden it's just popping up and saying, hey, this is what this place needs, God. I really thank you for giving, God, speak through me. Don't let me speak, let your word speak. Let my nervousness just go away, God. Let my brain to be able to think clearly and say what it is that you need it to be said. And God, I just pray that everybody in here just listens to the message and thinks of what they can do and how they can maybe do a little something better to be a light and to proclaim your name. And that's all that matters. In Jesus' name, amen. So the title of the sermon today is Don't Forget About Us. A lot of times we're sending our money and we're sending our works and what we're wanting to do somewhere else. And we're not looking around at what's around us because we don't live in the Philippines. We don't live in anywhere else. We don't live in Japan or Brazil or Mexico. We live in Waterford. And a lot of times it's boring to us, or we live in Pontiac or whatever it is. We just think it's our local hometown. I'm not going around. I'm not going away. I'm not going to a foreign land. I'm just here. So since it's Missions Month, I just wanted to kind of come up with a bit of a scoreboard, because how does this apply to the local church? I figured it's a fair question. So like when we're in sports, we have like boards that come up, and we didn't have any like clicker boards that we could come up, and we didn't have that, but this is what we had. We had some stats that Brazil, Mexico, and the Philippines, and if you look out there later, you'll see the flags out there. We have missionaries to those countries. They're growing in Christian population every year over year. So it means that they're spreading, they're telling their friends, they're telling their family, they're telling their neighbors that Jesus is saving. He can save them, he can change their life. However, in the U.S., the stats show that we are decreasing in Christian population every year, over year, over year. So we're falling down. So just with that thought process, we're not spreading God's love. We're not telling the gospel to the people that we know. We're not being a mission or a light around us. We're doing a great job sending money elsewhere because we can see the results of that. But in our hometowns, in our home country, we're declining. I have to remember to keep this on me because it's a new thing. At least for me. It's not for him, but it's a new thing for me. I guess I have to get into the technology days. So I have a nice chess piece on the board. And my thinking is, when I play chess with my daughter, I usually always beat her. She's never beat me yet. You have to have your chess pieces in the right place. You have to have them on the chessboard is a battlefield. And each piece has a certain way it moves, and it has a certain power that other pieces don't have. So you have to basically put together an army, and you have to have your pieces on the board so you can best defend your king. So you can best defend so you can win. That's the whole strategy, is to win the game. And you don't want to lose. Nobody in life wants to lose, so you want to be able to know how to play. And the man who went to Decapolis, the Gentile place, he was, in my view, he was kind of a chess piece. Jesus, I kind of think, I don't think they'd had chess back then or anything like chess. Maybe they did, we don't know. But Jesus was, in my mind, was playing chess here. On a chessboard, it is very important to have your army in the right spot. Jesus is putting pieces in place. Too often us Christians are not in a battle mindset. There is many things we are or do or don't do, but the battle mindset to witness and proclaim Christ, we need improvement on. So a lot of times churches and people will be in a mindset of, yay, we won the battle. We did this, we did that. Christ did this, Christ did that. Christ did do that stuff. But we're still in a battle. We're not done witnessing to people. We're not done because he's not come back yet. He's not redeemed the church. We're still in a chess battle to be able to proclaim to our neighbors, to our friends, and to our family, and the people around us that Jesus saves. Jesus changes lives. But a lot of times, I think we get a little bit too far in our thinking of, it's celebration time. Jesus is going to do this. Jesus is going to do that. Jesus did this. Jesus did that. So we're all excited. But we have to slow down because it's not done yet. We're still going on. Now, let's think about this for a second. The man, back in verse 18, when he wanted to follow Jesus, Jesus knew of the man's hometown, and Jesus sent him to witness to them. That was Jesus' witness to the Gentiles. He had possible good motives of his ideas. He wanted to get on the boat. He knew Jesus changed his life, and he wanted to go be with the life-changing power of Jesus. He wanted to keep improving his life. The man wanted to, another idea is the man wanted to help spread Jesus' message for the sake of the world. He wanted to help advance what Jesus was saying because he knew what he did for him. The man wanted to get out of the horrible place where he used to live at because people knew who he was, and when you're in a bad place, sometimes it's good to move towns. So he was like, let me get out of here. So all of those was good ideas that the guy had. Well, what are we doing with our good ideas? What's some good ideas that we've done? What maybe some ideas I've come to pop in my brain is an outreach thing is the rummage sale. We have a rummage sale. Anybody else have any ideas also what good ideas we have done in the church here? Some events? VBS. Yes, VBS. Didn't even think of that one.
Public school Bible studies.
Yes, CEF, yep. And Women's Heartbeat Lunch, we have that sometimes here too. And we have some good ideas that we are using to, Ladies Bible Study, that's a new one. Yep, that's a great one too. And so those are some possible good ideas that we're doing. The man's intentions, once again, was not bad. He basically had some good intentions, but they weren't bad. But sometimes there's too many O's in the equation. And we have to think of ourselves and think about this idea too, that just because it's a good idea doesn't mean it's God's idea. We need to be on a mission to reach locally into our home communities, and we have to make sure that all of the ideas that we have is God's ideas. Now, how do we basically get God's ideas? Here's some biblical principles for outreach that are God's ideas. Biblical principles for outreach. First one is to know the message. We all know 2 Timothy 2:15, I believe it is, that says, study to show yourself approved. Make sure you study and make time. Prepare to go out there to witness and look for opportunity. Don't give God scraps of time. Now, I was saying that, and I wrote that before the beginning of this week, and I'm working on this message, and sometimes things get in life, such as distractions, and those around us. They fight for our time. They tell us, well, you have to do this, you have to go here, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do that. And a lot of times we don't have the time to do our studying, to know what it is that we're wanting to do. So we have to make sure that we don't get distracted because it's easy. It's an easy thing to do. Distraction kills study time. Now, if my daughter in school, she loves to do a lot of things online, if she needs to also work on studying, but at the same time, there's distractions all around us and all around her, so we also have to make sure that we put those distractions to the left of us or to the right of us so that way we can keep our eye on what we're supposed to be doing. Now, the next one here is make time for evangelism. Now, once again, we have to be able to know what the message is. We have to be able to know what the gospel is. We have to be able to make sure that we can tell somebody that, hey, there's a God who sent his son because we are sinners and we are because we are sinners and we need to have forgiveness of our sins. And if we don't have forgiveness of our sins, well, there's a price that we need to pay. So we have to make sure we know what the message is before we can go out and make time for evangelism. But besides make time, I was thinking we need to be ready for evangelism, because we can make time for evangelism and say, okay, I'm going to put this 1 hour a day or this 1 hour a week or this 2 hours a week or whatever it is, but we might not have that person come to us during that 1 hour a week or that 2 hours a week, so we have to be ready for when people come so we can be a witness to the gospel, so we can be a witness for Christ. Now, number 3, work together. We need to come up with ideas about a team approach. Jesus sent out disciples in twos, not ones, but in twos. Sometimes in life we are solo, it will happen, but it's always better to have a buddy. So it's always better to basically have a couple people with you when you're going out talking to somebody or this or that, or if you're having friends, or if you're making a plan or you're making an event, it's better to have 2 people so that way it doesn't all fall on the one person and the one person's all stressed out now because this is going on and this is going on and they don't have any backup. So it's better to have 2 people so that way you're not just dependent upon oneself to get it done. And here's something else for us too, is don't stop improving. In Philippians 3:15, the Apostle Paul says, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the upward call of God. We need to keep pressing on because we're not done yet. The battle's not over. Our witness isn't over. We're not done doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're still supposed to be out there witnessing to people that Jesus is the reason and the answer that they need. So, let's brainstorm. What are some ideas that we could do to help be a better witness or be a witness, or some ideas that we can come up with possibly that might be beneficial, that might be helpful as well? Anybody have any thoughts, suggestions? Movie night, okay, that's a great idea. We have a movie night. We could also have social media. I mean, we say it a lot, we do it back there too, but you know, just because we have social media doesn't mean it's going out to the people. I mean, there is a way that, you know, we could put pastors' link on our Facebooks or our Twitters or whatever social media it is that we use, so that way, because our influence, our sphere of people we know, we have to have a way to reach them, so we just basically put a link on there. It takes 30 seconds, and if the people have a chance, we give them the opportunity to listen to a sermon. We give them an opportunity to be able to learn something. Another idea, word of mouth friendship. There's people that you guys know that nobody in here else knows, and you can invite them and be their friend and tell them about Jesus too, or build up a relationship with them to be able to witness to them. Oh, video game night. I wonder where that came from. That's a great idea. I'd love to come to a video game night and play video games. It's not like I don't have enough distractions in my life, but I really would love that because that's really fun. That's a great thing that we could do. Anybody else have any other ideas? I love that one. That was really fun.
Cookie exchange program, we did that before.
Yeah, my daughter and my wife always fight over who gets the first place on the chili cook-off. That's really a fun thing. They're always like, my chili's better than yours. And they still talk about it today, like, yeah, I beat you back in the day, and yeah, I really love that. That's really fun. But, also, too, is when we have it, we have to use word of mouth and tell people about it so they can come and be taste testers, too, because it brings people in. It allows us to be a witness. Well, as another idea, is a Christian school. There's a lot of need right now for Christian schools in this world because there's a lot of parents who want to send their kids to a better school because the other schools are full. But it also gives us the ability as a church to be able to reach out to other people, to reach out to our community, to be able to say, hey, we are around here because we have this new sign out there. We might as well use it. We are using it. Every time I drive by Scott Lake Road, I always read what Pastor John wrote on there. But most private schools have a long waiting list and kids cannot get into it. We can reach out into our area and make an impact right in here where we are. Something to think about. Takes a lot of work. It's just not something we can just say, oh, we're going to do it. But I mean, it's something to definitely develop and look into. Yeah, and it would also help grow us because even if the people who are not here with COVID and the people who are our friends that are in Ohio right now, if they were here, it would still be pretty empty. We have lots of room for more people. So, I mean, it definitely reaching out to the community and say, hey, we want to help you. We want to be able to come alongside you and help you out. Definitely is a worthy thing. Let's see. Where can we improve? Well, each person, even myself, we can improve on a lot of stuff. But as a church, where can we improve? Well, anybody have any ideas, any thoughts?
Care more.
That's a one. That definitely is, definitely. Because if we don't care about our neighbors, we're not doing what we're called to do. Here's another one. Event planning and promotion. So if we're doing a chili cook-off, or as Pastor John calls it, a chili supper, and I call it a chili dinner, or as my kids and my wife calls it, a chili competition, because they're fighting over who's getting a higher place over the other, and they really talk smack about it. Don't you think they don't? We have to, just because we have an event, we have to think of two things. One, we have to show up for the event. So if you can't have an event if nobody shows up. And you also have to promote the event. So you have to say, hey, I'm going to talk to my friends that I have an event. Maybe we'll have a flyer. You can pass it out to them. Maybe we can do other things, put it in the paper, do some ideas. I mean, we can brainstorm ideas, put it all over the social media, blast it here, blast it there. There's all kinds of things that we can do, but we have to be a little bit better with promotion. Just because we have an event, don't mean anybody knows about it. So that's the first thing. Another idea, a willingness to change. So remember how we have good ideas and God's ideas? We also have to, just because we've done something this way for this long or that long or whatever it is, doesn't mean that it's the right way. Maybe there's a better way. So the thing is we need to be able to be willing to change. Now, I'm not saying change everything we're doing because that's not the thing. But if we have ideas to reach our neighbors, we need to think about that because we need to be on a battleground. We need to have a mindset that we are in a battle, we're in a chess battle. Where is our pieces and what are we doing around here to be a witness to Christ? What are we doing to be a witness to our friends?
You don't improve.
That's true too. And let's see what...
If you're okay, then you don't change. And then you never get better.
And we also have personal faithfulness. What does that mean? Well, it kind of means this. If we are saying we belong somewhere, or we're doing something, or we're going to do something, we need to be where we're supposed to be. And, if you're not here, maybe be online. Or if you're sick, be online. saying, hey, we're here in spirit. Or if you're going to an event, be responsible to show up for that event, because if you're not at that event, maybe somebody was coming to see you at the event. Or, I mean, it'd kind of be like my wife and my daughter. If they're at the chili Cookoff thing, my wife wants to beat Mackenzie and Mackenzie wants to beat Mom. Well, if Mom's not there and Mackenzie's there, she's not going to have as good of a time because Mom's not there to beat, or vice versa. And they'll talk about it for the next 2 years of who won. And they still talk about it. They talked about it the other day. Like, my chili is better than yours. And she'll talk to her friends that are in different cities about, oh yeah, my chili is this. And then they're like, make the chili now. And he'll go out and buy the stuff. It's really funny. But you have to be faithful, and you have to make sure that you are there at 7 o'clock, because maybe somebody's wanting to see you. Like, hey, I'm glad you're here. Because if you're not there, it's not as much of an event. More people equals sometimes more fun, sometimes not. Anyways, personal faithfulness. We have to make sure that we're being more faithful with what it is we're supposed to be doing. Pastor John is going to probably come up with some sort of way for all of us to have a way to put the YouTube stuff on the board so we can invite our friends to, hey, watch church. Let us learn something about God. You have to be able to have a way to be able to witness to them on their terms and their time. Maybe they'll watch it at 2 a.m. one night when they're not having such a good time or whatever it is. We don't know. But at the same time, you have to be careful with your social media as well, because we just can't have all this stuff on our social media, be it political or be it this or be it that, because we're turning people off. I'm not saying that we're not. I'm just saying you have to be mindful and careful what you put on, because some people are just putting on, and I don't know any of you guys, as I'm not trying to say, but just in general, some people are trying to say, oh, they're having this and this and that and this, and it's offensive. And people are like, I'm not watching that, or I'm not following that person or this. You don't want to be one of those people. You want to be a person who people like or want to kind of follow. Because if you're putting negative stuff on your stuff, who wants to be around somebody who's negative? There's already enough negative going on in the world. So the thing of the matter is you got to be positive. Have some positive stuff on your social media stuff and try to uplift people, because if we're not uplifting, Jesus uplifts people. I mean, we got to be careful what we put on there, because if we're putting a church thing on there and all of a sudden we put something blasting on there previously, they're going to be like, oh, we got to make sure that Jesus goes out to all the world, because Jesus didn't die for part of the world. He died for all of the world. John 3:16 clearly states that. So let's see, personal faithfulness. Here's another one. Avoid silly arguments. We got to be careful in this one too. A lot of churches have issues. They fight over this or they fight over that. I remember growing up in a church when I was younger, they would fight over this, they'd fight over that. And it still goes on today. People fight over decorations, people fight over lights, people fight over carpets, where the pews are supposed to be at, or what kind of chairs it is, or what color of chairs it is, or there's all kinds of stuff. You name it, somebody's fighting over it. It creates division. And when people come in here and they're visiting and this and that, and they're hearing this or that, when they come into any church and throughout the U.S. or the world, and they're like, man, they're kind of angry in this place or that place or whatever it is. You got to be careful, because we have to make sure we are shining a light, not being a negative place that people want us like, okay, I visited, let me get out of here. Or let me get out of that place. I'm going to go someplace else that's a little bit more friendly, because I've already got enough going on in my life. I can't handle it. There's a lot going on with other people, and if they're coming into church and they're hearing this or they're hearing that, they already got enough problems in their life. They don't want your problems too. I mean, that's just something we want to think about. Avoid silly arguments, whatever they are. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Anyways, a couple things. I can't go back. It's too much work. We got to figure out a different way to use this. But Jesus, in verse 19, Jesus told him to go home and be a witness for Jesus. The former demon-possessed man did. He had a lot of impact. We can see the man's effort. We can see his work. The man reached. He did what he was called to do. He did what Jesus told him to do. He was excited that he had a mission. Before living in the tombs, he had nothing. But when Jesus came, he set him free, and he gave him a new direction and a new purpose. Now, after that, he was like, okay, well, I'm going home. And he was able to make a bigger impact because people knew who he was, where he was from, and what he was about. If he went somewhere else, he wouldn't have had a bigger impact. But the Bible says that men marveled. They were stunned at the impact of what Jesus can do. And if you guys have time, read in Mark 4 and 5 and 6 about the marvelous works that Jesus did. It's like stunning stuff. But we are called to reach people. We are. That's the whole entire thing. Where's our chess pieces at? We don't have many chess pieces. We have to, and I'm not saying any of the stuff we're doing is wrong, but where is our fruits from it? What is it? What results are we having? Is it just internal? Because it's not supposed to be internal. It's supposed to be a witness for out there. How is it that we're advertising to our friends or our neighbors or the community? They're just not going to show up. Sometimes people do just show up, and it's nice when people just show up. But you have to go bring them in. You just can't expect them to come because they're not going to. Because there's like, oh, that church, oh, those people are going to come. They're going to talk about me because I did this or I did that or I got this going on or this going on. You know, that guy was demon-possessed. Jesus went to him. I mean, if we don't go to him, or we don't go to her, or we don't go to those kids, somebody else may not. And the thing of the matter is we just have to look and think on a chessboard. Where are we? What are we doing? So we have to ask ourselves, what are we willing to do? I mean, we have a lot of good ideas. Are they God's ideas? We can use the biblical principles and study and examine that. But what are we willing to do? We could attend more events. We can be there when we have something going on to make them an event. Because if there's nobody there, there's no event. Invite your friends. Well, that's kind of a new one. We have a lot of events, but not a lot of people there. 5, 6 people. I mean, it's a nice little place to come and say, hey, how's it going? But the whole mission is to invite people to bring them to Jesus. And if we have these events, we got to figure out a way to promote them, just as the other one said. Invite your friends. And then, I know a lot of people volunteer here, so I'm not saying anything about people who are volunteering here, but volunteering more often, or people who don't volunteer to volunteer more. There's something that you can do. Even if you are at home and you can't get out of the house, you can still make a phone call, or you can still put up a link and witness to the people around you. Because eventually they could, you send them a text of the church service, or you send them a text of this, or you send them some kind words, or you send them pastor's phone number if they need something. If they're having a hard time, say, hey, call Pastor John. He'd talk about this with you.
Take some of my business cards and pass them around.
That's a great idea too. So volunteering more often. We have a lot of things that we would love to do, but ain't nobody doing it. I mean, we do have certain stuff going on, but look at the place, it's kind of empty. And talk to your neighbors once again. I mean, some neighbors aren't very friendly people. I'm sure that demon-possessed guy was not a very friendly guy. They were terrified of the dude. And, at least you don't probably have the demon-possessed guy across the street from you or next door to you. Let's hope not. But they're probably nicer to deal with than the other guy is. Say, hey, we have an event going on. It's a tea thing, or it's a chili thing. Hey, I heard your husband makes a good chili. Maybe he should put it in our contest and see how he does. It's bragging rights. Guys love that. I love that too. I love eating it as well. But I mean, we have mechanisms. We just need to promote them. We just need to get them out there, because if we're not out there reaching out, because like that guy was reaching out to his community, we're not going to be effective. We can't be effective if we don't have any reach. We do a lot of stuff for our reach. We use YouTube. We use different methods. I was wanting to talk about, too, with the Gab TV. We want to maybe have a TV channel, cost a couple $100 a year, but we'll reach a whole entire new span of folks. So we have YouTube and Gab TV. We use different social media because people aren't going to come to us. We got to go to them. Because if you're not reaching out, you're not going to have any results. It's going to be kind of the same way that it always is. So we talk to our neighbors, volunteer more often, invite your friends, and attend more events. So how can we reach out better? There's a lot of ways. How can you reach out better? There's probably a lot of ways.
Be friendlier.
Yes, we need to be friendlier. So let's stop and reflect what our fruits are and activities are bearing. We want to be open to ideas that are just not the good ideas, but we want to make sure we also have God's ideas of what we're doing. Just like that guy had a lot of good ideas, God had a better idea for him. We need to stop and reflect during the missionary month and each person be honest with themselves to the best of their ability. What are you doing in your hometown? We are like this man who Jesus said not to come on his ride on the boat proclaiming, but we are to go home to our friends and our family to do what we can to spread and proclaim what Jesus did for us. So we have to think about what are we proclaiming on social media or people that we know or however it is, how they would perceive us. And in churches today, a lot of them all over the world focus on silly stuff. We have to get off of that and get back on track of what we're doing in our hometown. Don't forget where you come from, where you've been, who you know, where you live now. Are we reaching out? If we are, how can we reach out better? Let's go ahead and pray. Dear God, thank you so much for the message and thank you for the example of the demon-possessed man, God. He was a Gentile in the wrong place, that he couldn't go on the boat with Jesus. He had to stay where he was in his hometown so that way people could see the amazing things, the amazing change in his life only God could do. People tried. People did what they could try to do, but they all failed. Only Jesus can change lives. We can't change anything, God, but we can be a witness, and we can proclaim what we know to who we know and try to reach out the best of our ability. We have something that wasn't back then. We have social media and we have ways to communicate that are much better, but it's so harder for us, God. Give us wisdom, give us boldness, and give us what we need to go to where we need to go, who we need to go to, so we can reach out for you. It's not about us. We're in a battle against an enemy that wants to destroy us and them. God, let us be wise. Let us be bold. We pray this in your name. Jesus' name.